Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. While it's been a slow week on this channel, the second channel is off to an okay start. I spent a lot of my time this week just playing Granblue, so content creation was gonna slow down even over on that front, though I did put out a video that a lot of people seem to have liked over there. And I just gotta say, it is hella refreshing to just know that if I wanna make something for a second channel, I just can. So I'm letting you know that the early experimentation of that is going well, and I'm excited to dig more into that while also doing this. I'm kind of surprised. There's some stuff we've been waiting to hear about in 14 that maybe we won't hear about much because 7 Rebirth is this month, but I really thought we'd have the interviews from JP FanFest already, because there had to have been, you have to imagine there was a media roundtable just like all the rest of them, right? So that's like the only bit of news that I'm really expecting this week. And I have like 1 or 2 other 14 videos, but man, Granblue is just sucking my time away. I'm in no rush to get any particular video out right now, so it may be one of those weeks where this is the only video of the week, unless we get news or unless I find the time, or like I finally like go so hard on Granblue that I don't feel like playing it off stream as well, which is exactly what's happening right now. Yeah, so it might just be a one video a week. I'm just letting you know now, but I'll probably have at least 2 videos up on the other channel this week. So yeah, like I said, it's just really nice to know that I have that option. And that channel is going to be able to earn an income soon as well. So it's just, I don't know. It's just nice to be able to talk about that and to share it. But it's fun. You know what I'm worried about? Before I get into Q&A, my first 3 videos are Granblue videos. My next 2 videos are Granblue videos on that channel. I'm afraid of the same thing happening, but with Granblue instead of with Final Fantasy. So I ended up making a variety channel, and the first 3 videos are all the same thing, and the next 2, the first 5, and it's like, okay, well now what happens when I stop posting Granblue videos over there to post something else? Oh man, I'm not ready for it. But the only other thing I really have planned for it at the moment is Dragon's Dogma 2, and I haven't watched much of the material they've put out for it. I've kind of tried to stay in the dark. So I got a few things that I want to put over there. But anyway, just wanted to get you caught up on how that's going. Let's get into the Q&A. There's quite a few comments. I don't know how many questions there are, but there's quite a few comments. So let's get started. Thanks to the sponsors over on Patreon for supporting. You don't have to, you choose to. All my content is available for free here or on the second channel or the VOD channel, all those channels. And yeah, I appreciate all of you for supporting as you always do. And for watching this. Don't forget you can ask a question in the comment section below this video, and then it gets answered next week. So do that. And also like the video and all that. And I'm telling you this before I start the Q&A because most of you don't make it to the end. So now let's start the Q&A. Yeah, the first like 8 comments were all just normal comments. So yeah, here we go with the first question. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey Haps. Hi, hope things are going well. Going pretty good, yeah. I'm sure you probably answered this before. I've answered so many questions before, you can never worry about it. So feel free to give a quick answer, but as someone who is always kind of intimidated by positionals, I've recently leveled Monk and gotten used to them and think they're a lot of fun. Why is it most likely they're getting removed? It's just one of those gameplay systems that's become less and less of an identifier for all of the jobs that they used to be important on. Dragoon is the most positional heavy job, which it used to be Monk. And it's really no longer a part of any job's identity. And if it's no longer a part of any job's identity, and they're designing all these bosses that with super huge hitboxes or no positionals required at all, it gets to the point where there's just no point in them being there because you can't even play to them that reliably most of the time with the way encounter design is nowadays. Like, it's really nice when you can figure out how to get the positionals regardless of which mechanic is happening. Like there's definite benefits to gameplay to figure that out, but it's so minuscule and it's so few and far between that it just doesn't serve enough of a purpose anymore. So I don't think they'll survive into the next expansion, but we won't know that for certain until probably the job action live letter, which we should expect probably in like May-ish if my prediction for the expansion release is correct. So that's my prediction. Hashtag MWMH. Hey there. Hi. Hope you and the cats are doing well. I don't know why I was going to read that like it was the sentence was still running. Before my question, the Astro retrospective is missing from your retrospective playlist. Okay, I will fix that after this. I probably won't because I'll forget, but I'm going to tell myself that I will. Do you think it would be a good idea to collapse and combine the Bard songs together? Recently started expanding what jobs they play in Bard seems unnecessarily complicated. it's not really complicated. It's just you go from one song to the next. I mean, it's just, you know, an order of songs. Condensing them doesn't really change the game. Although I guess, yeah, if you were to condense them all and still press a song every like 40 to 45 seconds, I guess that technically still achieves the same thing. That would also make it so that if you ever wiped, you could kind of come back into things. It fixes a little bit of the rigidity problem, I think. But then you'd have to simplify. Like, then you'd have to have bloodletter. But then your moment-to-moment gameplay becomes absolute madness. Obviously, you'd have to adjust the proc rates, but if you have to deal with getting pitch perfect stacks, bloodletter resets, and being hasted all at once all the time, that's going to be more complex and complicated for a lot of people than swapping between songs every 40 to 45 or 30 to 45 seconds. I do think they need to get rid of some of the rigidity of the job. I don't think that's a good way of achieving it, though. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, happiest of misters. Hello. Hope all is going as well as possible. Well, I'm farming the final weapons for every character in Granblue, and I got 4 of them in 7 hours. So it's going about 40% as well as it probably could. Non-14 random question. Have you ever played Chrono Trigger? Yeah, I played it for the first time pretty late into my life. You know, I didn't have a lot of games growing up. I didn't have a lot of money. And so I didn't have Chrono Trigger growing up. I played it in like 2016, I want to say, for the first time. Loved it. It's one of my favorite RPGs that I've played. And I understand why people were upset that I hadn't played it before that point. Because after I played it, I was like, oh yeah, this is an absolute must play if you're an RPG fan. There are other must play RPGs I haven't played as well. But you know, that was among them. Playing it for a couple of weeks after a friend recommended it after I finished Sea of Stars, and I'm loving it. Now I understand why the game. Yeah, see, that was the exact same reaction that I had. Baffles me the game hasn't seen a remake yet. It saw a Steam re-release, but the franchise has been largely dormant since Chrono Cross, which was not received nearly as well, and Chrono Cross did get a recent remaster. And I don't think we'll ever see Chrono Break. Chrono Break was going to be the next game in the Chrono franchise. I don't remember the full story, but TLDR, it got canceled. So I don't think we'll ever see anything Chrono Trigger related that isn't just another remaster, re-release or something for quite some time. I just don't think they think it's going to land the way that maybe they hope. And you know what? I wonder if Live Alive feeds into that at all, because Live Alive, if you haven't played that, I hadn't played it before the recent remake, and it was phenomenal. I totally understand it as the blueprint for what Octopath would eventually become, and I understand why they chose to make it a 2.5D game. But I don't know how well that did. I genuinely don't, and it was a lot of work and effort for them to make it. So it's one of those things that just because it is a lot of people's go-to, it's one they swear by, that doesn't necessarily mean its numbers that it's going to sell are going to match that. A lot of people who are that dedicated to those games and those ideas, a lot of them already have it and to kind of take pride in the fact that they have like original copies and stuff like that. So they're less about remakes and remasters and more about just wanting others to experience it. And when that becomes the driving force of your sales, in that kind of game, it doesn't necessarily do as well. And I wonder what Live Alive taught them about remaking old games in that style or at all in the first place versus just doing a remaster, which probably doesn't require as many resources. I wonder. I don't know the answer. But yeah, no, Chrono Trigger, fantastic. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right. I have a question related to raiding and specific ultimate. So far, I've been doing all of the Savage raids with minimum item level, no echo, and also blind in chronological order starting at coils. God help your soul. I like how I always say that. I'm not religious at all. Finding great fun in doing so, letting me experience these fights as close to the original as possible. There's some better ways to do it, but this is a good way. Now to the question. I've been thinking about doing ultimates blind as well once I cleared the savages I wanted. What were your experiences when you were progging these fights? Perhaps some advice. So UCOB, T, and Uwu blind experiences weren't that bad. I mean, I'm really conditioned to those like difficulty levels, but keep in mind, UCOB for me was only blind for the first 2 days. When I eventually would go in and get my clear, because I didn't have a group that tier, that was not blind. Like I had obviously seen the clear VODs. I had studied them before I got there because I wanted to make sure that amongst, I think there were 3 of us that hadn't cleared, 4 people who had cleared once when it came out, and 1 person who had cleared like 30, 40 times. And so for a lot of those, it was the first or the second weapon. I made sure not to be a liability in that one, although I definitely still had some moments because I was playing Monk, and boy, did I not like playing Monk in that fight at all. But then with Uwu and T, the blind experience wasn't really that bad. It still came down to just, once you got to get the execution down, and it wasn't really any different for me than any other Savage fight. DSR and Top on the other, actually, no, Top blind was actually super easy to understand. It was a purely executional thing. Almost every mechanic in Top, when you see it, you can logically figure out how to do it. Don't get me wrong, Delta Trio and Sigma Trio, not necessarily the case. And Sigma Trio still kind of, but not necessarily the case. But for the entire first 9 minutes, and then even in the last phase, it's all very intuitive, which is one reason I actually kind of like the fight, even though I have no desire to repeat it. DSR, I mean, Meteor Phase and Death of the Heavens. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff that is both quite interesting to figure out and very executionally driven. So that's probably the one that's kind of toughest to go through. So those are my different experiences. But the first three, if you've done the Savages, honestly, I don't think you'll have an issue with them. I mean, finding a group would be harder doing it blind than just beating them blind, in my opinion. You know what? This funny. This one has the hashtag at the end, which was confusing because I started reading from the top, went to skip it, and then couldn't. Happy Monday, Haps, and spoilers ahead for those of you who haven't finished the Hildebrand 6.55 quest. I'm not going to censor this out. It's Hildebrand. I'm confused about the lore and thought maybe you could clarify. With Endwalker, I thought we learned that media, which is, for those confused, is the combined name of all of the Medions that were sent away, reached every civilization in the universe and found each had been destroyed. And yet the Hildebrand, they didn't find them all. They just were scattered throughout. I don't think there's ever, I'd have to rewatch the cutscene. I don't think that they ever said every civilization they encountered, they determined was doomed to despair, but not all of them in existence. And yet Hildebrand quest revealed two alien races, the Poo-Poo and the Not House of Hildebrand progenitors, didn't destroy themselves by their own design, but were largely wiped out due to the final days, suggesting they were doing just fine until Media began their song. And now we have this announcement for Cosmic Exploration and Dawn Trail. What gives? Did Media somehow miss a few races? Yeah, I don't think it's ever explicitly stated that they reached every race. This answers all the questions. Yeah, they didn't reach every race in existence. Just every civilization they found, they deemed had the same fate or was doomed to despair or was self-destructive or any of those things. So yeah, that's it. Obviously I'd have to go back and rewatch. It's been a long time since I've watched through the Elpis section where this is largely explained. But that's my answer, I suppose. Hashtag Mondays with someone who happens to go by the name Mr. Happy. I like it. Hello. Hi. Do you have any advice on how to get into Extreme Savage Ultimate? It's to stop worrying about I think I just answer one like this last week. I feel like I did. It's this. Okay. I say this in the nicest way possible. It's not waiting 6 days for me to tell you in a YouTube video what to do. It's to just go do Party Finder stuff. Like make a fresh learning, just trying to get into Extreme, looking to try to learn Extreme and Savage. Like just make a PF or join a PF that you see that's like, oh, fresh prog or early prog or something like that. It'll be way easier in the next few weeks when the Savage tier itself unlocks. But for now, you could go to Extreme Trials. But the biggest thing is, a lot of people come to me with this question, and the answer is to just do it. The PF is never the most attractive option, but what it is good at doing is at least getting your feet wet. It could be with a terrible group that makes very little or no progress, but once you're in and you see it and you understand it a little bit better, then all of a sudden that initial anxiety of getting into it in the first place goes away, and then it becomes about improving. So that's it. It's just to go do it and not think too much about it. The less you think, the better of a time you'll have. As for the second question, which I almost completely glossed over, in terms of finding a static, just advice for a static, I'm the worst person to ask, to be honest. Because I do what I do for a living, it's very easy for me to find groups while I'm going through any recruitment process. But I have gone through, I've posted on the recruitment Reddit and the recruitment Discord, and I have gone through some trial processes, but I know so many raiders that very often people who I know are looking for people for groups, and it becomes kind of more like a private network of the raiders just kind of shuffling around between group to group based on experience, expectation. When you're brand new, the best you can do is kind of make a name for yourself on the party finder, because if people see you in there and see you performing really well, don't be surprised if you maybe get asked at some point if you have a static or are looking for a static. That can happen. I've seen it happen many times. But also to just go to recruitment Reddit, recruitment Discord, post and put your honest like goals, expectations, and in this case, you know, lack of experience, and see what you can find, because it's all about just getting the name in front of people until you find one that kind of at least claims they match what you're aiming to achieve. Hashtag Monday with Mr. Happy. Only one Monday. Hi. What do you think about people who buy coaching service to get a coaching service, huh? Is that what they're calling it nowadays? Listen, I'm not going to tell anyone what to do with their time, or in this case, money. But let's just say this. When they join PFs or clear groups or anything, we know. We know what you've done. We can tell very quickly. So it doesn't really achieve much for them. Well, it gets them the weapon of the title, maybe, for whatever they're doing, but, you know, we can tell. All right, this one doesn't have a hashtag, but I could very clearly see it was a question. Hey, Happy. Hi. Hope you're doing well. Like I said, 40%. So I just started playing 14 again. Been skipping all the story, thinking I could find a YouTube video explaining everything that's going on. Well, I'm not having any luck. Do you have any recommendations on another content creator to watch to catch up on the story? Do you plan on doing some type of video? Stopped playing right at the end of Endwalker. Couldn't take the long queue times, but mainly because I had a newborn who's almost 4 at God. Why do you have to say it like that? How just... Oh, God, we started Endwalker and you had a newborn and now they're almost 4. Oh, God. Anyway. So I'm trying to think, because I don't think I know anyone who has just a straight up story. Somebody has to have... Okay, here's what you do. I know you skip the cutscenes, meaning you probably just want an overview, but I genuinely just recommend finding someone who's uploaded all the cutscenes for each expansion, or for like post, like what, like go to YouTube, which you're already at because you're listening to this, and type, you know, post Endwalker MSQ all cuts and just watch it. It'll like, yeah, you might not finish it in one sitting, but you also aren't like, it's not like impeding you from playing a part. I recommend just doing that. That has to be there somewhere. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. How you hanging? I'm doing all right. Just a quickie today. I love quickies. Was wondering if you'd ever like to see any other Final Fantasy crossover events like 15 and 16. Which would it be? Personally, I love an actual crossover with 7 or 8. I don't desire any crossovers. Every time I get a crossover question, I'm never like, yeah, give me this crossover, because I just, while the crossovers can be fun, they are always kind of, in my opinion, hit or miss in terms of like, they're either too little, like the 16 collab, like, yeah, the rewards are nice. I'm going to appreciate hearing Find the Flame and the other song that they play in there. That's really good. I'm going to like that we get the Torgal Mount minion, the outfits, like the rewards cool. Like Monster Hunter collab, fantastic. 15 collab was a good deal of fun. Dragon Quest 11, like it's not like they've been all like bad or anything, and I don't want them because they're inherently bad. But I'd prefer to just get more Final Fantasy 14 stuff. And I know they always talk about, like, you know, how that takes resources for them and it takes resources for the other team. Even selfishly, like, I'm pretty content with what we've gotten that's referencing other Final Fantasy games. So honestly, I don't need another crossover. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. No hello on this one. Sad. What are your thoughts on deadlifts? So I haven't done deadlifts in a couple of months now, but before that, hold on, let me pull up my notes. Before that, I was working on max bench, max squat, max deadlift. So here we go. I have it in my notes. There it is. Well, it's the name of the note actually is just my deadlift one. Yeah, I had a 365 max on the deadlift. That was after like, I think it was three and a half months of just training deadlifts once or twice a week. I'm always a little nervous about deadlifts, and I don't usually recommend deadlifts to people when they ask for exercises, only because it's quite injury prone, especially if people aren't too careful about their form and, you know, their lower back and everything. I like the way they feel, and I like the way I feel the next day afterwards. I always feel like it's a fantastic workout. But right now, I'm not doing them because with deadlifts, I felt like my back was getting stronger, but it more felt like I was getting stronger at just doing deadlifts. Whereas like doing a pull-up, for example, was not getting any easier. I wasn't able to increase the amount of pull-ups I was able to do. I wasn't, because I obviously, you know, lat strength, but a lot of the times the deadlift would just wipe me. Like I would just like, it just all of my energy would be gone, and I would get to things like lat pull downs or pull-ups and whatnot. And I'd feel like not winded, but you know, like I'd gassed. I feel a little bit too gassed. So I took out the deadlifts, and during this like cutting phase I'm doing right now, I'm focusing more on accessory muscles, I suppose. Like anytime I do a leg day, I do an arm day. Any day I do a chest day, I do shoulders. Anytime I do back, I do shoulder. And I'm not just doing push-pull legs, which is a pretty common thing people do. I'll do like chest and back on the same day, and then I'll do side delts with that day. And then with legs, I'll do like a largely like hamstring and glute day. And then I'll do like, you know, 2 bicep exercises and 1 tricep. And then the other leg day, I'll do like really heavy on the quads, and I'll do like calf raises and whatnot. And then I'll do 2 tricep and 1 bicep on that day. So like I've got like a whole system for it, but they're all exercises and targeting muscle groups that I felt like I was neglecting when I focused on strictly those 3 things. Because those 3 things took the most out of me in order to make real progression and strength gains. So deadlifts, great exercise. I would recommend going lower on weight, focusing on form, not doing what I did and going for the ultra heavyweight. And, you know, just be careful. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hi. I was wondering in 14 what happened to the giant dude that appears in Ilsabard continent on the map. If you're referring to the beings on the map, not all of those are explained or even like directly indicative of where we should expect to experience them. They explained it a really, really long time ago that map, it's largely meant to be more mystical and mysterious than it is to be indicative of things. But because the 4 lords are in the southeast portion of the map over by, Hingashi and Authard and all that, then, you know, we've all kind of now taken it to ourselves to just kind of assume, oh, if we go to that location, we should expect to see that thing. So nothing's happened. There's no indication that I don't even remember what it looks like. So I'd have to go see it. But, yeah, it's just there because it makes the map look more mysterious and fun. But I don't remember what did they even look like. Maybe they just look like, you know, another version of Titan or something, but it is what it is. We're waiting a lot for Dawn Trail, and this is the first time we wait on a lot on a new expansion, or was other expansion wait most of its time? It's about 6 months wait. That's normal. This one's a little longer because we've had more time between patches because they've done the now 19-week patch schedule. But no, this is normal. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. Longtime lurker and subscriber. Welcome. This will be the first time to throw a question. Well, don't throw it. Ask it. You know, I don't want to have to catch the question and then answer it. That's so much work. Since Beastmaster will be implemented as a limited job, will there be the possibility for an Arcanist rework so the class will revolve around pet management so that Summoner and Scholar would just add flavor on top of it? No. They're never going to touch Arcanist again. The only way they're going to touch Arcanist is if they absolutely have to because they've reworked Summoner again. You're never going to see that. And honestly, the way Summoner uses their pet right now in terms of like summoning like a primal and then Carbuncle comes back and you summon another, that's probably as close as you're ever going to get because you're never going to get basic just, oh, I have a pet out and the pet does everything for me. That's if that happens, it's essentially going to be what I predicted they might do for Puppet Master if it's not a limited job, where the pet is essentially your weapon and you're just telling your weapon to do things, which is the same as just using a skill in the first place. So that's the thing. I think if you ever get anything pet related, it's going to be closer to that. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Happy. Hi. Recently, I achieved triple legend with UCOP. Grats. And setting my sights on DSR soonish. Best of luck. Although my main worry is visual overload and stimulation because some fights get so hectic trying to keep track of a bunch of different things. I'm worried I will lock up. Number one thing is the only things that matter are what you need to do. That's it. 7 other people got things to do. Is it nice to be able to see if someone's making a mistake so you can help them learn from it? Sure, but that's what VODs are for. That's what watching back on those is for. No, you look at yourself, you look at the piece of information you need in the given moment, and you make the movement you need to make. That is the most fundamental basic of everything, and that is true for UCOD, that is true for DSR, and that will be true for everything. Yes, sometimes do you have a partner for a mechanic and you need to know where they're going? Sure. But fortunately, if you just do that, if you just go, okay, I have this, it means I need to do this. I'm going to focus on doing that while I do my rotation or whatever. You will be fine regardless of whether or not it's UCOB or DSR. So just take that advice and roll with it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey, Haps. Hi. Newer player here. Welcome. Started playing at the end of Shadowbringers. One of those. Well, welcome all the same. I'm coming down from the high of clearing my first ultimate. Was wondering, do you think or have they confirmed they designed new MSQ EX trials and new savages with a future ultimate in mind? They do not. They design it just based in the moment, and when they whiteboard things, they write all the mechanics that every boss has down, and they think, what would be fun? What's iconic to each boss? What can we combine, etc., etc. Is there anything you've seen in Shadowbringers or Endwalker raid trials that feels like it could easily be brought up to ultimate level? Almost everything. Okay, so here's the thing. You beat Uwu, right? None of those mechanics are ultimate level from the fights that they brought them from. They're literally all just basic AoEs. And all of Uwu is essentially, other than like stuff like the chaining of the jails and the awakening mechanic and the LB3 stuff, it's all just the basic attacks those bosses had amped up. And most of them are, you know, line AoEs that knock back, like a landslide, or placed AoEs under the player, or bombs that come down on the arena. It's how they're combined that makes that fight even, you know, ultimate. But it's like, that is also the easiest ultimate. But my point is, no, I don't think they do. They need to make every mechanic work for that encounter. They don't care how it's going to play with any mechanic in the future. They may not even use them in an ultimate in the future. As we saw that with T, there were tons of mechanics we expected to see in T that they never used. And so they definitely don't. They definitely, you can tell that they board that up as they're developing for a specific ultimate and not when they first make the Savage, because that won't even get an ultimate till like 4 years later. They have no idea, like they can't plan that far in advance. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. Extra hello for that person who forgot. You read the comments before you wrote this, didn't you? Fitting. I've been grinding out my last 2 EX mounts for a bit now and become increasingly frustrated with PF these days. These days? You mean every day? Even when I find form a group to farm a fight, it's a coin flip on if we clear. Yeah, like I said, every day? Starting to wish I could just queue up for raid, kind of like people do with dungeons. You know, a kind of raid finder, if you will. Don't worry, the sarcasm reads. Joking aside, my question is, do you think NA could ever learn to embrace the raid finder like JP does? Is there any way to break the hold PF has over NA rating? No, and I'll give you one very particular reason why. Everybody has their idea of right, and for some reason in NA, nobody can accept that they're... Okay, it's actually two things. Number one, nobody can accept that another way could be better, and people are in the PF are always looking to try something that is better than before, at odds with the people who are just trying to do what was already working. It won't change in the raid finder. It's literally a mentality problem. In Japan, everybody agrees to do it one way. The PF says, hey, this is the strat. And while, yeah, sometimes you can have divergent strats, that's not like an unheard of thing. They're very quick to be civil and figure it out. And they're like, okay, how many people have done this? It's essential that you just know anything that can happen, but they're way better at like nailing down what is the standard and making sure that people are educated on what is the standard, and people don't fight it that much. And NA people fight over nothing because I'll say we're just like Neanderthals over here, man. It's terrible. And I'm sorry for us, with us. I'm sorry with and for us. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. Fairly certain I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. Maybe a question to ask Yoshi P during the media tour. Hey, I always say, don't just assume I'm going to join a media tour, or even that they'll do one. You know, can't take it for granted. What would be the likelihood for them to release Viper and Pictomancer something like 2 weeks before the expansion launch? Yeah, you're right. You did know the answer to this one before you even asked it. Endwalker was my first expansion release, and having to level Reaper through old content really killed the hype for me since it was the job I wanted to take through MSQ, and I plan to do the same with Viper and DT. Yeah, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So a couple of things. One, the early access date is essentially when all of those files are added to the game. That's the most important bit. If they put it out 2 weeks before, they're going to have to patch in Dawn Trail stuff, and they know people are going to rip that shit apart. So they're just not going to do it, bottom line. And number two is I guess I don't want to put it in the harshest of ways. They don't care that you have to do those 10 levels on early access or expansion release. It's not a factor to them. That's, hey, here's the new job. We're giving you 10 levels to get acclimated, and then you have 10 levels of the story to do. That's how they'll look at it. And so whether or not you want it, it's what they want you to do to have some degree of accountability or liability for how players will use the job when they actually get into content. If they just get it at 80 or they get it to, and you might be saying to yourself, well, if we get it 2 weeks before, then doesn't that give people more time to do it? Sort of, but only the most hardcore of people who probably weren't going to grief with it anyway are really going to dive into it at that level. Most people just get it leveled and then put it away for the 2 weeks, you know, because they're not like, you know, PF or raid fight. That's the other thing. Essentially, playing an incomplete version of a job for 2 weeks beforehand is not something they want either. They don't want people to be like, oh, this job's under tune, this job's this job's that, for 2 whole weeks before. I think I said this in another question, another answer in the last couple of weeks. They just don't want people to be, because they will. They're going to whine and complain. They're going to be like, oh, you know, it doesn't do as well as Monk. You know, that's kind of lame. You know, I was really hype about the new job, but I already play Monk and Monk outperforms. He's like, bro, you're playing it 10 levels before max. Like, I understand that doesn't necessarily mean it'll be better at max, but like, they don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. And I'm not even the one playing I'm not even the one like who makes the game. So, you know, yeah, there's a handful of reasons they're just never going to do it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Haps. Hi. Hope you and the fluffy felines are well. Yeah, I think they're doing all right. Wait, where's Aloha? I don't know where Aloha went, but the menace is loose somewhere. I started playing healers back in Shadowbringers, and I'm okay with them overall, but in most forms of content I find them a bit boring compared to DPS or tanks. You and very many people. Healers seem divided on how to improve healers between increasing need to heal, more DPS options, both, or that healers are fine where they are. Wondering what your opinion on healer is. That the only way it gets more complex is if they make healing more required. I think that's the only way to win. Because when you have very simple DPS tools, but you have to do a lot more healing, them being simple becomes a boon. You know, in the times where you get to do them, it's time off of doing responsible things. Right now, every time a healer needs to heal, they feel like they're inconveniencing themselves as a job. That's what needs to change. So that's my take on it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Been a while since I asked a question, and I hope you're doing well. You know what? I'll take the hope you're doing well as a hello. Acceptable. As for my question, what would you like the collector's edition weapon to be? I'm not going to lie, I couldn't tell you what any of the collector's edition weapons are off the top of my head. Oh, wait, no, Shadowbringers. Is it Lionheart? Was it Lionheart? It was Lionheart, right? Did I get one? Wow, look at my hair. I don't care. I'll never glam it or use it anyway. I'm just the wrong person to ask. Yeah, so and I could see you posted some thoughts on the Astro rework. Honestly, I'm just waiting at this point because like I have my idea of what they could do or what I'd like them to do, but I'm not a healer main, so it's not up to me. So I'm just gonna wait. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hi, Happy. Hi. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. You're doing all right. Good. 10-year vet here. Well, welcome. Well, I'm longer than 10, but I would still say welcome to the old crew. My question is about general job balance. Yeah, it's a crit damage variant question. Oh God, do I even want to answer this? Do you think similarly to Warrior with their guaranteed crit direct hits that other jobs should get a change to have 1 or 2 skills do the same? So here's the problem with that. With the way the game is built right now, it reduces the variant problem in terms of like, you know, who does what, I guess. But that doesn't address the underlying problem that is the solution. That's a problem, that's the solution. And I'd rather address the problem at its source than the output of the problem, which is how the skills interact with it. So the answer to your question is technically, yeah, if they want to keep everything the same as it is now. But the better answer is, I found the menace, by the way. He's yowling right behind me for attention. Aloha, my dude, I'm right here. You act like I'm not here, man. Hey, I can't reach you back there. He wants in the, you know what the thing is? I figured it out. He wants to sit in the chair because when I go to bed at night, he lays in the chair. I'm sitting in the chair and it's making him upset. So when I'm sitting in the chair, he goes and he tries to get in the chair, but I'm in the chair. So he just ends up scratching my legs and my arms and all that shit. But yeah, I just would rather they fix the underlying issue that crit and direct hit dominate. I mean, crit especially, but like, yeah, the stat spread is too dominant in one very particular direction. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hi. How you liking Granblue? Love it. Namara and Charlotta. Wait. Wait, now it's Narmaya. Okay, you spelled them both wrong, so it confused me. For it's Narmaya and Charlotta with a C. Yeah, I got real confused by that one. First, I wanted to ask if you've given any thoughts to making a video for people detailing the steps to get each expansion's relics. Yeah, it's considered. At least a brief, like, this is what I did and like what you can do to get yours. Secondly, you do more talking about games videos. Maybe. If anything, it would be on the new channel, like you said, but podcast style, unplanned at the moment. Thirdly, with the Arcadian, what do you think of a special 14 collab GPU? And you know what? They can diamond plate it, make it cost $40,000, and it can come with an emote that only works on one character. How about that? Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Question for the... No, hello. So disappointing. Current tome gear and weapons will become poetics here in Dawn Trail. Do you think Viper and Pictomancer will have a weapon design contest since the current comedy tome? No, I think they'll just make... I've debated this before. No, I think they'll just make weapons for them in that slot. They're not going to hold up. They'd have to have held the contest already. Like, they've already decided and probably designed those weapons. It's way too late at this point for them to start to hold a contest and then to make it. So no, yeah, they're just going to make their own. All right, I'm getting kind of tired of talking. I'm not like, it doesn't feel like my voice is going or anything, but you know, you ever talk so much and it's just like, I just want to talk less right now, not to mention Aloha's yowling at me and I want to go spend time with him. I'm reaching down here. Hi, buddy. Hey, I'm trying to reach down here to pet him and he keeps taking further steps away because he wants me to follow him. I'm just going to lightning around the rest, which just means no more editing. So it's just going to be one straight shot. And no question on the screen, so you don't see me scrolling through. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Swole. Add one more hello in case someone forgets. Thank you. Non-Final Fantasy related question. Have you gotten to play Sea of Stars yet? I did, yeah. I liked it. I feel like it has some low points, but it's overall pretty charming. It's very difficult and difficulty level to something like Chrono Trigger. And I'll tell you what, I specifically liked it more than... what's that other game that everyone was raving over that I kind of just, Chained Echoes, yeah. I liked it better than Chained Echoes. Chained Echoes was way more challenging and the beginning of the game was like pretty good. But like the mid to late game, I lost all interest in Chained Echoes. Like the writing got worse, the gameplay got worse with the mechs. And Sea of Stars was really consistent, even if it wasn't like super difficult all the way through. It was very engaging and I really liked that. So I would highly recommend it. All right, sorry. Aloha was bugging me, and he's still bugging me. So okay, no more edits from this point on. I kind of forgot when he was bugging me that I was like doing a lightning round. So yeah, he's still down here. Oh my goodness, and this person has so much typing that my brain is kind of breaking. All right, there's too much text. I'm sorry. There's too much text in this question. What are the most viable ways to kill 14's 2-minute meta? To literally just go back to what we were doing in Shadowbringers, which was have a bunch of different cooldowns that ranged between anywhere from like 30 seconds to 3 minutes. That's the answer. Just literally go back to what we had in Shadowbringers. Then we had, there's like a long explanation of why Heavensward, so the defense of Heavensward. I mean, I'm not going to debate someone's opinion, you know, like I was there and, you know, I did all the content and I remember how it was actually like received on point and how it's been received since or even been removed from the game. So it's a matter of very firsthand experience with every aspect of the game versus just an opinion of a different perspective of similar content. So, you know, it's, you know, if Heavensward, if you liked it and you thought the content was good, that's fine. But, you know, it was really bad for the game at the time. I wouldn't have been surprised if the game had died again. Like, no matter how you may have felt about the content, the game was at like its lowest point in like since A Realm Reborn released during Heavensward, and that was for a good reason. Then we have some comments. Oh, I think there's only one more question. Hey, Haps, you doing all right? I was almost done with the questions apparently, so that works out. Will you play Tekken 8 with me? No. I challenge you. No. Winner gets 1 million gil. I have 400 million. I don't need 1 million gil. You can connect your DDR dance pad if deemed necessary. I don't think that would help. Yeah, that's it. Those are all the questions. So yeah, quick lightning round actually matches the name. So anyway, with that, thanks everyone for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like, favorite, not subscribe. I would say favorite. It's like and subscribe, share, and ask a comment below. There's no favorites anymore, Haps. There's like a watch later list. That's all that there is. But anyway, appreciate you all, and I will see all of you next week. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye-bye.